In this video, we'll learn how to export out a MARI project as a session and then import that session information into a new project. All right, so I'm inside of our Assassin Final project, and again, this is the project that has all of the layers inside of it. Now, what I'm going to show you here in this video is essentially a way that we can write out all of this project-related information into what MARI calls a session. Now, inside this session, we can take all of our texture information and write it into specific images for each patch. We can save out geometry information, as well as channel and shader information, and even images in the image manager. So this is a great way to work if this project is needed by another artist for whatever reason. We can export out a session and then pass that session file structure over to the other artist, and they can bring in whichever components of this project that they need for their own project. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to come up here to the File menu under Session, and there's a few options here. We're going to look at these here in just a moment, but let's go ahead and choose Export Session. So what's going to happen, this export session dialog comes up, and you can see here a hierarchical representation of our MARI project. This right up here, this Assassin Final, represents the project itself, and then one notch under that is our Assassin object right over here. Now here underneath that you have things like channels and shaders. Now these are all checked in this current layout. I'm going to go ahead and leave these checked because I want to take all of these and write them into my session. Now, the session is going to include a MARI session file or a .msf file that's going to have the entire session coded into it. But you can see here we do have some options. We can include lighting. In the case of my project, I'm using an environment light, so I do want to include that. We do have some buttons up here that will help us to quickly select things inside of this structure. And we could even come in here and by default you see that we're using all patches, or we're going to put all patches into our session. We could come in here and change this over to a range, and we can input a range of UDIM numbers. I'm going to go ahead and stick with all for right now. We'll just click OK on that. And I'll come down here. And now object files. This is going to be your mesh file. And this is something that I am going to change this option from copy to don't copy, because I don't want to write out another OBJ. Now, if you're passing this off to an artist, they may have access to the same OBJ anyways, so this really depends on the situation you're faced with. Do you need to spit out a mesh? If not, then make sure and switch that over to don't copy, because it'll, in the case of this project, it would shrink down the size of the total session folder structure dramatically. Now, the next option here is called Export, and there's two options here. We can choose to export all textures, which is going to basically write out an image for each and every texture on each and every patch and each and every channel of my MARI project. Now, this is also possible to come in here and choose Template. Now, what a template can be useful for is, well, let's just say that maybe this particular channel setup, these resolutions, these are something you use over and over and over again. So what you can do by saving out a template is you can write out the channel information, the channel information we have set up in this project, but you're not going to include any of the textures that live on these channels in this project. This could be useful for quickly setting up a new project for maybe a second character. Maybe there's a male assassin as well, and you've already set up this project according to the specifications maybe for your pipeline. Then you can quickly load up a session template to set up the next project for the next asset. Make sense? All right. For this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and spit out all the textures, and then we'll need to tell MARI where we want those textures to live. I'm going to put mine in this referenced files folder inside project files. There's an other file folder in there, and inside that folder I've made a session folder. Now, I will go ahead and remove these from the final project files that get published to the site because that will increase the size of those project files, and I know they're relatively large as it is. So you can easily go ahead and basically export out your own equivalent using the MARI archive. All right. Now the file name is by default set to the same name as this project. We can come in and type in our own name if we would like. I'm going to go ahead and click away from that, and you can see we'll still use that Assassin Final name. Great. Let's go ahead and hit the OK button, and you can see MARI is going to prepare to export out our session for us. Now this is going to take a little bit of time, as you can see here. There are a lot of textures in this project and a lot of different things that it's going to be writing out into that session file structure. Now, the great thing about this is you'll get a message like this. It does say, attention, the export has finished, so the MSF file has been finished writing out, but there's background jobs running. So we can see those background jobs right over here in our status bar. There's a little running man icon. And if I come in here and click on that, you can see quite a few background jobs that are running right now. So basically, what's going on is MARI's going through the process of getting all of that information out and putting it into that session folder. And you can see the number of jobs are shrinking rapidly here. So once these finish up, you'll see this little running man icon disappear like it just did. Go ahead and click OK on that. And what I can do now is I can go ahead and close out of this project. Let me just go ahead and hit the X button, and I'll discard any changes that were made because what I want to show you now is what it looks like when we bring in session data. And once our project is closed out, we'll go ahead and just jump back over here to my Projects tab. And I'm going to go ahead and open up a different project. This is the same exact asset for this Assassin project here. I've already created a brand new project, and I've loaded in that Assassin Final OBJ. So we'll go ahead and load up that project here, and I'll show you how we can begin to bring in that session data. While that's opening up, I'll go ahead and just drag this over here, and I'm inside that session folder. We'll go ahead and jump into the Assassin Final, and you can see inside the Images folder, there are all the images that were in the Image Manager palette. We can come back over here, projectors. There's nothing in here. This is any kind of custom camera information that we've imported into our project. We didn't cover that in this course, but we do have content in our library that talks a little bit about projectors. So inside of the textures folder, you'll find a texture for each and every channel and each and every patch. So lots and lots of little images in here, but you shouldn't ever have to go in here and manually sort through these. Notice the names don't really give you that kind of an option, but this will be loaded in once this MSF file is read by another project. All right, great. Let's go ahead and I've got the project loaded up, and you can see here I just simply have a color channel in here. If we look at our shaders, I only have, the default setup here, no shaders. And if we jump over to the Objects palette, you can see I've got my Assassin Final OBJ loaded in here. And to get that session information into this fresh project, we'll just come up to File and Session. And there's a few different ways we can do this. So we can import that entire session if we want all of it. Now I'm going to open this dialog up, but this is really about as far as this goes. We browse to the MSF file that we just created, and we choose what we want to import, whether it's all data or only onto a selected object. So let's say that this particular project that I had created here actually had maybe a second character and maybe an environment in it as well. We would want to choose that second option here. We click OK, and MARI proceeds to import all that session data. Now, I'm not going to do that. That's going to take a little bit of time because I want to show you the other options here. We can choose to import channels or import shaders. I'll go ahead and pull up the import channels. They're going to be pretty similar, but you can see there's some pretty clear instructions on how to use this. We want to choose the file to import from, and I'll just go ahead and jump over here. And I'm going to copy and paste in my path to that MSF file. There we go. And we'll go ahead and let MARI catch up. There we go. Got an extra F on there, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and remove that. What it's doing, and the reason it's taking a little bit of time, is because it's reading the information in that MSF file. So you can see here is my Assassin final project, the Assassin object, and all of the channels that came inside of that. So let's say that you're wanting to come in here maybe as another artist working on somebody else's work, and you wanted to touch up one of their channels. Maybe you needed to make some changes to it. Let's say it's maybe the roughness channel. We'll go ahead and bring that guy in. I'll just simply middle click on that guy, drag him over, and drop him on the Assassin final object in my new project here. It may take just a moment to read this, but you can see eventually it will show up. You can see there's that color channel that currently exists, and we can continue dragging these channels over one by one if we wanted to. Now we can choose what to import here. We can choose to import all layers or only selected layers. We'll leave that set to all layers, and I'll go ahead and choose import. Now you're going to see some dialogues flashing up on the screen as MARI's importing the images and reading that channel information from our session. This is going to take just a moment, so let me pause the video while this imports. Now once MARI finishes importing that roughness channel inside of our new project, we can go ahead and cancel out of this dialog. It's going to stay open. We'll go ahead and cancel that out. I'll switch to the current channel. And I'm also going to jump here over to our channels palette. Now, notice here that if we turn off the lighting information, we do have all of that painted information that lived on that roughness channel. It's been imported, it's been brought in, and it's ready to reuse or fix if we need to do something like that here in our fresh project. Now again, these sessions are something that's new inside of MARI 3, and I can tell you that it really is nice being able to add flexibility to grouping up all of the things that are associated with a project that I'm working on here inside of MARI and packaging them up so I can send them over to another artist at a later date. All right, so in the next video, we're going to take a look at another way that we can take all of the information in a MARI project up and package it up in one nice, neat little package to hand off to another artist. It's called an archive, and we'll learn about that in our next video.